it's like alien technology to me. Every time I hear about it, I'm like, glad it's doing well. I don't know how. It just goes up, and then it crashes. I'm like, of course it's going to crash. And it goes up. I'm like, of course it was going up. It can't stop this fucking... I don't know anything about it.
If quantum comes, we have much bigger problems. But even if it does come, Bitcoin developers have game planned what we would do.
People get bugged out because they're always like, you're just trying to set up the one world government. It's like... I think it's coming. I really do.
Aristotle, Socrates, founding fathers, it's in the Bible. You get these warnings throughout history, don't fuck up the money because it fucks up society.
So what happens in the future? Say it all works out, they're all bought up, and then there's people who have like no Bitcoins. Do they become like serfs?
Raw milk as a term is a psyop. It's just like how...
It's just milk,
It was milk for thousands of years.
And you can test it. And if you think about it, it's crazy. We're being poisoned from the inside. Our entertainers are just being at Nickelodeon. Yeah. It's pretty... The 90s were like... A true dark age.
That's a deep rabbit hole. It's the Rothschilds started that.
Did they really?
Yeah.
It's evil. That's evil.
Curious to learn about it.
Yeah, I am. It's like alien technology to me. Every time I hear about it, I'm like, glad it's doing well. I don't know how. I don't know what to do about that, but I'm really happy about that.
Yeah, I guess, all right, if you're curious to learn about it, the first question is like, how do you understand Bitcoin? Like, how would you describe it, your understanding of it?
I don't understand it. It's just a thing I see, and I'm like, oh shit, it's up.
It's up. It
just goes up, and then it crashes. I'm like, of course it's going to crash. And it goes up. I'm like, of course it was going up. It can't stop this fucking... I don't know anything about it.
Do you view it like a stock, money? Do you understand how it works? Or
you mean like stocks?
Well, like that's like...
I understand stocks. I don't understand Bitcoin. I'm like, to put it this way, it's like stocks. I understand like the stocks that pay you dividends, and you can buy those, and they'll give you dividends back. Bitcoin's like you buy it and hold it. Do you just like sell off a little bit? Like I don't understand how it generates cash.
It doesn't generate cash. Yeah, that's right. There's 21 million Bitcoin. It is what is called like a digital bearer asset. So it's like cash. It's like digital cash. Mm-hmm. So it's like dollar bills on the internet.
Yeah.
The whole idea is that it's a monetary system. It's like a new money that ultimately will replace fiat currencies like the dollar, the euro, the yen. And so the idea is that there's only ever going to be 21 million. And if you accumulate Bitcoin, use it as a savings vehicle. The thesis is that more people are going to recognize that it is a better monetary good compared to the dollar, the yen, the euro. They're going to adopt it.
So what's non-fiat about Bitcoin? That's what I don't understand. Like how is it not fiat?
So fiat, the term fiat literally means by decree. And so when you're talking about the dollar, the euro, the yen, it is literally decreed by the central banks and governments. We're like, this is the money. Here's how it works. We're going to decree how many units exist at any given point in time, what the interest rate associated with how banks trade it. It's fiat by decree, whereas Bitcoin, it's a decentralized system, and you don't have the ability, like once Satoshi launched it and basically set the parameters and the rules, there's nothing anybody can decree to change that.
Gotcha.
And so you're forced, and the other part of the decree is you're forced to use it. Like US dollar, you have to pay taxes in it.
Yeah.
And you're not supposed to use other monetary goods to pay taxes and other stuff. And the idea of Bitcoin is that it launched and it's completely external to these fiat systems. And there's nothing that the governments or central banks can do to stop it. So anybody's free to acquire it, hold it, whatever it may be.
Got you. And so can they tax it? Like, can you get taxed on Bitcoin?
Yeah, you do now. So you get capital gains taxes viewed as a commodity. And so if you bought one Bitcoin at $100, it went up to 1,000. You sold it there. You've got a cap gains tax on the gains. That's 900.
So if you don't sell it, you don't get taxed.
No.
Cool.
And there's people pushing to basically eliminate the cap gains tax on Bitcoin or make it de minimis, where you can spend $200 worth of Bitcoin, not have to worry about the taxes.
Yeah, so that makes sense. Why did he only issue 21 million in total?
I don't think anybody knows why 21 million exactly. Satoshi's written about it on forums. He was like, I just came to this number. I think the more important thing is that it's scarce, right? Because that's the problem with these fiat currencies. They just print and dilute the value of each individual unit. And Satoshi, he made explicit sort of proclamations when he launched Bitcoin and when he was writing about it. Like, I'm launching this system to directly compete with the fiat system, because central banks, governments, And commercial banks have proven time and time again that if they have the ability to pull the levers to manipulate the money, they will. And that comes at the severe detriment to the common man. And so what society needs is a money that can't be manipulated. And here's Bitcoin.
It's kind of tight.
Yeah.
So what happens in the future? Say it all works out, and then like there's 21 million Bitcoins, and they're all bought up, and then there's people who have like no Bitcoins. Do they become like serfs?
No.
In the digital currency age, or like what happens to them?
No. I mean, eventually, like if it gets to that point and Bitcoin is the money, people will work for Bitcoin. People will acquire it.
Oh, and it'll just spread around.
Yeah. And the idea too is like, even if you don't adopt Bitcoin, you're going to benefit because it sort of forces better decisions from an investment perspective, a capital allocation. Like I think a lot of the problems that exist today is because you can just print money and throw it at a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah.
So you look at like one of my favorite examples is the university system. Like the fact that for the
they're $1 million. It's like $1 million to go to school.
Why is that? Because the government told the millennials and now Gen Z, like if you want to go to college, we will give you a loan.
Mm-hmm.
Like no questions asked, we're going to give you a loan. How are those loans produced? They literally print the money.
Yeah.
And then the colleges say, oh, they're going to give all these students loans and they're going to print the money to do it so we can just raise our prices because it doesn't matter how high they go.
Yeah, dude. I went and got my master's a few years ago and I was kind of sick over the price. It was like once I was in there, I was like, dude, we're watching TED Talks. Yeah. There's like 18 of us in a basement watching TED Talks. This is 60 G's. I was like, I don't know about that.
Dude, I know somebody from back home there. Went to Bonner and got into Villanova, but they're like fighting for a scholarship because they don't want to pay $90,000 a year to go get a 4-year degree.
Yeah.
Like, that's not viable. And then the product's shitty too, because the university was like, the government's going to print the money, we can raise our prices, and the outcome of the education we provide really doesn't matter. Like the money's going to come anyway. And so we can just have kids in a basement watching TED Talks and it's
Netflix documentaries. We watch like Netflix. I'm like, dude, I've seen this before. I've watched this in my house. It's $12. Like I have the monthly membership.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's cool, man. I hope it works out. It seems like a good thing. What if like some of like governing bodies done to kind of like curtail the spread of it, or kind of like have they ever like sabotaged? Like why did it crash out of nowhere?
It's crashed. It like goes through these volatile run up, crash, run up, but it's always gone up and to the right. And yeah, the government, I mean, particularly under Biden, directly attacked the industry, particularly at the banking layer. So I'm not sure if you've heard of Operation Choke Point and Operation Choke Point 2.0, but Elizabeth Warren, the FDIC, and the Treasury Department during the Biden administration essentially attacked the banks that were banking companies in the industry. So one that went down was Silvergate. And this was around the FTX stuff. But Silvergate knew that they were in a risky industry with their counterparts being crypto businesses. And they basically built their balance sheet in a way where they would make it so no matter what happened, they'd always be able to get dollars back to their depositors. And during the FTX stuff, people were obviously running on the bank, like saying, Silvergate's FTX's bank, we need to get our cash. And since Silvergate set it up a certain way, they were able to get cash back to everybody. But despite that, Elizabeth Warren, the FDIC, and the Treasury did not like the industry because it directly competes with the dollar. And so they just took the bank out. And then there was another bank, Signature. They did something similar. And then Silicon Valley Bank came after that. But I think that was a knock-on effect of Silvergate and Signature going down.
Got you.
And there's other things they've arrested developers who've written open source code to let people use Bitcoin in a self-sovereign way. So there's cases that are going on right now, particularly developers that make it easier for people to use Bitcoin privately. So there has been attacks.
Yeah, because that was one thing. I tried to buy it a while ago, and it was like I had to put like a picture of my driver's license, and like I was just like weirded out. Like, dude, where the fuck is this going?
Yeah, that's an unfortunate. If you're running like a regulated exchange, just due to like KYC, AML laws, like you have to check that box, and it's unfortunate. And that's another thing that like Bitcoin's trying to fix in a sort of indirect way is all this data collection. That whether it's when you sign up for exchange, you have to give your social and your driver's license, or simply like buying shit on the internet, having to put your credit card in and save it in the browser.
Yeah, well, I didn't mind it. Like, you know, if you know what it is, it's like just like sign up for a bank account. So I was like, whatever. But I remember thinking, like, dude, where is this? Is this like some weird like place somewhere across the globe? Just like, sweet, we got his shit now. Fuck this guy. We got his information.
That because all these companies are forced to collect that data, and that's like been one thing in the industry that's not good. Is they don't secure that data correctly. And it's not just Bitcoin and crypto exchanges. This is true for banks and other entities that are forced to collect that data. But like people on the dark web literally target these data repositories with all this information and then use it to basically steal people's identities. Or what's really beginning to happen in the world of Bitcoin, which is unfortunate, is they figure out where they live, can see that they've been buying Bitcoin, and Bitcoin, if you're able to successfully get somebody to send it from their wallet to your wallet, it's hard to recover. So it creates this like perverse incentive for...
So someone can just snag your Bitcoin?
It's hard, but...
It can be done.
Yeah. I mean, they could come, put a gun to your head, say, move the Bitcoin to this wallet.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. That's why they need your physical location. That would suck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, but it's most people are going to lose their Bitcoin by fucking up securing it.
That'd be kind of fucking nuts. But yeah, so what about like Cash App and Venmo and stuff? If you have Bitcoin in there, is that like a good place for it? Or?
Yeah, Cash App's good. Venmo, yeah. I would say any exchange that lets you actually take possession of the Bitcoin is good in my book.
When you say possession, like you put it on a hard drive?
Yeah, yeah.
How do you get it off of... Sorry, I'm just hammering you with I've never, every time I talk to people about this, they go, I have no idea how it works either.
No, so...
Does Venmo let you take it off Venmo and put it on a hard drive?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And so when you take it off of Venmo and put it in a wallet that you control that can be on a hard drive or whatever, you essentially create what's akin to like a username, or not a username, password. You create a private key, which is basically a key that only you have, gives you access to your Bitcoin. Then it's associated with addresses where you can send that Bitcoin to, then you use that key to move it from those addresses. So you set up a public address associated with a private key outside of Cash App, and then you take one of those addresses, put it in Cash App, and say, send the Bitcoin here, and then it goes there, and then you control it.
Got you. So, but the whole point of it is just to buy it and hold it, and just kind of let it go up and up and up.
No, I mean, it's the best place to store your value, to save your money. But also I spend Bitcoin. We accept Bitcoin for ad money here. And so
nice.
People do use a transaction. We have got contractors across the world. Instead of wiring them money, it's just much easier for them to send me a Bitcoin address and have it settle in 10 minutes or instantly.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. No, but the whole idea is like really, we have it out here, fix the money, fix the world. A lot of the world's problems, I truly believe, stem from the fact that we fucked up the money. You've had Aristotle, Socrates, the founding fathers, it's in the Bible. You get these warnings throughout history, don't fuck up the money because it fucks up society.
Yeah.
And we're at a point today in 2025 where we've royally fucked up the money globally beyond.
Yeah, dude. So especially when they're like, we're in national debt is what, like
$37 trillion.
$37 trillion. Yeah. I don't understand how that is like acceptable at all to be like, well, look, we're still in control of everything. It's like, dude, well, you're $37 trillion
in debt.
Like,
it's never getting paid back. It's literally impossible.
Yeah, but isn't that, nobody ever gets in trouble for that. It's like a massive, like, Bernie Madoff scam people, blah, 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 goes to jail. If the governing body owes who, China? Like, who do they even owe that money to?
China owns a lot of the treasuries. Now the Fed owns a lot of the treasuries, so it's sort of like interdealing there.
So America's in debt to China and also Japan, its own Federal Reserve?
European countries, yeah. 37 trillion debt. What is that debt? It's treasury bonds. When you issue a treasury bond, you say, this is a debt instrument. We're going to basically offer it to the market. You give us cash up front, and then we'll give you the bond, and it has a interest rate associated with it, and we'll try to pay you back that interest rate depending on where the bond's trading. But we've printed so much it's mathematically impossible to ever pay back. And I mean, that's the problem.
What's the move?
That's why Bitcoin. That's why I'm focused.
The move?
That's why I'm focused. So the move is at that level. They've really got two options, which is they can hold their hand up and say, look at this. This is $37 trillion in debt. If we're being honest with each other, we're not going to be able to pay this back. So we just got to have a debt jubilee and reset. And sorry, bondholders, we're not going to be able to pay you back. That's politically untenable.
Yeah.
Particularly because the banking system, it's politically untenable because China, Japan, everybody was like, what the fuck? You said you're going to pay us back.
Yeah.
The other problem is that the banking system, a lot of what they hold in reserves are treasuries. Mm-hmm. And so if the government was to say, oh, we're not paying any of this back, the banking system would collapse overnight. So that's the one option. Untenable, not going to happen. The other option is you just print the money to pay the debt back. But the consequence of that is inflation and the debasement of the currency.
Yeah, then it wouldn't even matter.
And then the third option is you have this other monetary system that you cannot manipulate, that people just slowly adopt and transition over to, which is Bitcoin. Damn,
that's a pretty feasible case.
Yeah, it's happening.
Yeah, I think so too, man. I do think it does make sense, and it's like we don't carry around giant bronze coin, like satchels of coins. It does seem like it's kind of like an out of date model, especially if it's like France has everyone has their own weird money, but people get bugged out because always like you're just trying to set up the one world government. And it's like I think it's coming. I really do. Like I think not like we'll have countries and stuff, but there will be maybe like a centralized super government. Or what do you think about that? Do you think it will actually be totally decentralized, or it'll be?
Yeah, I think we go back to like a more decentralized distributed world. I think Bitcoin will play a part in that, and I think we're already beginning to see it. It's hard to perceive it as it's happening, but again, we were talking about COVID before we hit record. Like just here in the United States, if you look at the sort of competition between states who are acting autonomously, like you had Texas, part of the reason I'm here, Florida, Wyoming, many other states saying, "Hey, we're open for business down here. Like we're going to do our own thing." I know the federal government wants to shut down. We're not going to do that. Like that is a signal that here in the United States, at least, states asserting their autonomy is a push towards that direction, towards more distributed sort of politic, if you will. And I think just naturally what we're seeing today with all this debt, with all the centralized, I think it's collapsing in and of itself. You can't centrally plan anything. And history has shown if you try to, ultimately it will collapse in and of itself. And I think we're beginning to see that process play out on a global scale as well. Like the WEF, they were in Davos last week and everybody's calling bullshit on what they've been trying to do.
Yeah, well, I wonder though, because then so there's $37 trillion of debt. They're like, all right, we can kind of slowly phase out money and go over to Bitcoin. Doesn't that shoe drop somehow at some point eventually though, where it's like, yeah, fuck these fucking bonds, dude, we're done with this bullshit?
Yeah, and that's something they're acutely aware of and are trying to, I imagine they're trying to navigate delicately, because that is, and it's happened throughout history, there's this idea of a speculative attack where when you notice that a currency particularly is weak and on the verge of potential failure, or you can see a path over a decade or two that it's going to fail, you take out a bunch of debt in that currency and then buy a harder money like gold or Bitcoin or something like that. And that's starting to play out.
I got you. You take a giant loan and you're like, fuck, this money's not going to be basically real.
Yeah, it's funny. Sam Hyde, he's got a famous 2-minute clip from like 10 years ago where he explained that like when he first got into Bitcoin, that's what he did. He did it on an individual level. He ran up like 20 grand in credit card debt, bought Bitcoin.
And it was just like,
and then the collections called and he was like, I'll pay you $11 a month. And they were like, all right, we'll take it. And the Bitcoin went up.
That's so kind of funny.
Bitcoin went up. I think it was like 10 years ago. So he's doing pretty now.
Yeah, he's probably doing pretty well.
But I think that's at the individual level. Like eventually that'll happen at a bigger level, state level, country level, whatever.
Yeah, Trump's pretty pro Bitcoin. That's what I keep hearing. He's kind of pro Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's a weird time in the world right now. Like, because the other thing too is the U.S. dollar is the reserve currency of the world, and we've weaponized it pretty aggressively the last 2 decades. First, with like the '08 bailouts, we basically said we're gonna print all this money, save the banks, and that fucked over a lot of people. And then Russia, Ukraine specifically, when we froze Russia's treasury assets, that was like a big shot across the bow to Russia, China, Iran, India, all those countries, the Middle East, that you may think you actually own these assets, but we can literally hit a button and stop you from accessing them.
That makes so they're buying into bonds basically to like invest as a country.
They're using it
as
a balance sheet asset. Yeah.
Oh dang.
And then we hit a button. We're like, actually, the 300 billion of U.S. Treasuries you actually can't access. And that's the other beauty of Bitcoin is since it's a decentralized system, nobody can stop you from using your money if you secure it properly.
Dude, do you think so say like, okay, so Bitcoin takes over, it starts becoming like a mainstream currency. Do you think somebody would be like, I'm going to start a new, like a, 2.0 like Bitcoin, and then you have these competing.
It's already happened.
Decentralized currency. I mean, they obviously have like Ethereum and stuff, but it's like, I guess that just works the same way. Ones get picked up, other ones just kind of fall by the wayside.
Yeah. And I don't think people are going to try. They have tried for 13 years now, I think was when the first Bitcoin competitor launched in the cryptocurrency space. And what you'll find is like Bitcoin has almost an immaculate conception where I don't think it could be replicated, where if anybody were to launch a Bitcoin killer in the future, it's fucked from the get-go because somebody's got to launch it. All eyes are on the space, and so it doesn't have this like emergent natural adoption that Bitcoin had.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense.
In the early days when nobody knew what it was or didn't care about it. And it's the launching of a Bitcoin killer would be corrupted from the inception, in my opinion, because you can't replicate the sort of natural emergent properties of Bitcoin's early days.
Yeah, that makes sense. You'd have too many kind of big players like manipulating and...
What's up, freaks? This is Nat you don't want to skip because Fold has a great offer for you. Everyone knows about Fold, the app where you can earn the most Bitcoin rewards for everyday purchases. I did this yesterday. Me and my wife, we use Amazon to buy quite a few things. And instead of just putting our credit card into Amazon and buying there, I put my credit card into Fold and buy an Amazon gift card and upload it to Amazon. Why? Because I get the credit card points and then I get sats back. Yesterday, I bought a gift card. I made 10,181 sats, about $10.50 in Bitcoin. And it's the only way to do it. If you want to stack Bitcoin passively, make sure you're using Fold gift cards. Fold has a special deal. I mentioned it earlier. If you're not shopping with Fold gift cards, you're leaving sats on the table. New users that sign up to Fold are going to get 20,000 sats in a welcome bonus with their first gift card purchase. So don't leave sats on the table. Sign up now at foldapp.com/Marty. Get those 20,000 sats, freaks. Sup, freaks? This rip of TFTC was brought to you by our good friends at Bitkey. Bitkey makes Bitcoin easy to use and hard to lose. It is a hardware wallet that natively embeds into a 2 or 3 multi-sig. You have one key on the hardware wallet, one key on your mobile device, and Block stores a key in the cloud for you. This is an incredible hardware device for your friends and family, or maybe yourself, who have Bitcoin on exchanges and have for a long time, but haven't taken the step to self-custody because they're worried about the complications of setting up a private public key pair, securing that seed phrase, setting up a PIN, setting up a passphrase. Again, Bitkey makes it easy to use, hard to lose. It's the easiest 0 to 1 step, your first step to self-custody. If you have friends and family on the exchanges who haven't moved it off, tell them to pick up a Bitkey. Go to bitkey.world, use the key TFTC20 at checkout for 20% off your order. That's bitkey.world, code TFTC20. And then the other thing is, like, Bitcoin's tied to the physical world in terms of the amount of energy that's used to mine it. And right now it's, I believe, 15 to 20 gigawatts of energy is dedicated to mining Bitcoin and securing the network. And that's a very secure and powerful network. And to think that somebody could launch something and compete with that, not only out of the gate, but over the course of decades, is somewhat infeasible.
And that's what I never understood that either. So mining Bitcoin is when you dedicate computer power to securing the network?
Yeah, it's securing and facilitating transactions.
Oh, okay. So you set up a computer that's just kind of like...
Yeah, you set up a computer that basically has the rules of Bitcoin. And what miners do specifically is they're all in a race to produce a very special number. Like at any given point in time, the network has what's called a target, a difficulty target. And if you find a number below that difficulty target, a hash below that difficulty target, you prove that you spent energy because it's computationally hard and it's probabilistic. And so it takes work to find that small hash. And so the computer that finds that hash presents it to the network, says, hey, you have a hash below the difficulty target. The rest of the miners go, yep, that's below the difficulty target. You can add a block of transactions to the ledger. And as long as those transactions are valid as determined by the rules of the distributed consensus.
This is why people have no fucking clue how
exactly.
the fuck this. So what's a hash? You're just like looking for, is that like a mistake?
No, it's a cryptographic hash. So it's called a hashing function. It's literally a formula function.
Okay.
F of whatever.
So a computer is just doing math like nonstop,
just
like
injecting randomness into that function and then hoping that the randomness combined with the function creates a hash below the difficulty target.
What's the difficulty target?
It's see, now we're getting into the weeds. This is where I get in trouble trying to explain Bitcoin to people because I get too into the weeds. But
I get it. So you're just like feeding a bunch of random math problems.
So the difficulty target. So part of the beauty of what Satoshi designed, there was many digital currencies tried before Bitcoin. That's another thing people don't realize. But one of the breakthroughs with Bitcoin, with this energy used to produce these hashes, one of the problems was it became very easy to find the hashes. And so you would essentially produce blocks every minute. What Satoshi had was called a difficulty adjustment, which would basically see how quickly blocks are coming in. There's a 10-minute target that the network sets. And if blocks are coming in too fast, let's say they're coming in at 8 minutes, the network is essentially like, all right, we're 2 minutes away from the 10-minute target, so there's too much computing power on the network. We need to make it harder to find the hash, so we're going to lower the target to a lower number. And that happens every 2 weeks. So the network every 2 weeks is like how much computing power has come on or off the network. If blocks come in at 12 minutes instead of 8 minutes, it's 2 minutes above the target. And it's like, all right, there's not enough computing power on the network, so we need to make it a little easier to mine.
Got you. That makes sense.
We're going to raise the target.
So there's a predetermined, some sort of mathematical, obviously really complicated function that is increasing its difficulty and shrinking its difficulty.
Depending on how fast blocks are coming in.
Funny if it was just like the Math Castle. Remember the Math Castle from grade school? There's a computer game where you're just like, we're in a castle and the only way to get out was like solve like
I do think I remember this actually. I remember playing this
like
at the
8 times
Y.
8 and you'd be like 64.
Yeah.
So it's just a super complex.
Well, it's not that complex. It's pretty simple.
The math problem?
The math, yeah. I mean,
let's solve it, dude, and get rich.
You could literally, if you wanted to, it would take you forever. But with the hashing function, people have done it by hand.
What?
It's just a computer will do it much faster. So by the time you did it by hand and presented it, you could literally, if you wanted to, do the hashing function by hand.
Yeah.
And if you somehow, it's infinitesimally small chance, did produce a hash below the target, you could potentially manually like present it to the network. And,
oh, wow.
Yeah. But it's infeasible.
Yeah, you wouldn't do it. So what do people worry about, like quantum computers? Like
people worry about it, but the developers working on Bitcoin have solutions if quantum were to become a thing. And then the quantum, for some reason, whenever it pops up in the news cycle, the first thing people point at is Bitcoin. But if quantum comes, like Bitcoin's the last thing we need to worry about. They're going to attack the banking infrastructure, like HTTPS, like the internet literally runs on the algorithm that would be cracked by quantum. So if quantum comes, we have much bigger problems. But even if it does come, like Bitcoin developers have basically game planned what we would do if quantum came. You can create quantum resistant sort of.
Kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Damn, that's so fucking crazy.
Yeah,
dude.
it's a mind
We're all
fuck.
going to be too dumb for everything pretty soon.
I don't think so.
I know. I'm just fucking around. But I mean, dude, it is like if you have to have like be having like quantum battles on computers, dude, that's. I don't even know what the fuck quantum mechanics is. I know it deals with super small things.
It's basically, the way I understand, I'm not a quantum physicist or a physicist at all, but it's just, yeah, you have a state can exist at 2 points at the same time.
Yeah.
And if that's true, like you can send data pretty
yeah, remember that's what the fuck's it called? Relativity or no?
Yeah.
I don't know what it's called. Oh, entanglement. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's like, I know quantum is for like the measurement of the tiniest shit possible.
Yeah.
Somehow they can harness the tiniest shit possible, tiny math, and then they can make supercomputers. That's like literally.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm just like, all right, sounds cool. Let me know when you guys do holograms. I'm down for that. That'll be cool.
I don't want to say I'm skeptical of quantum, but I think we're very far. Like the whole Google Willow thing that was popping up like a month or two ago. Mm-hmm. If you actually look at it, what they did was like they had a quantum computer running for like a microsecond, And
sick.
If you were to,
awesome.
If you needed something to break Bitcoin, like it need to run for like days. And not only that, you have to be able to do a computation on top of it, which they haven't figured out.
What did they do with the computer for one? They just watched porn really quick.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
They didn't even get to the point where they can. They literally just got to the point where it's like, all right, like the energy can produce like something for a quantum state for a few microseconds. And
so they're saying they were able to do that like entanglement thing for.
I don't know about entanglement. Now we're getting to like.
That's what I'm saying. Like someone has to shake these nerds up a little bit. Like, what are you fucking guys doing in here, man? You did a computer for a fraction of a second.
Yeah,
it's like, dude,
it's great. It's great.
Billions of dollars.
It's great for fear mongering. Like you can have Chamath Palihapitiya go on and be like, oh, we need to. Yeah. Bitcoin's fucked.
What do you think about the AI? I hear people I never worry about AI. Everyone's always freaking out about AI.
I love the AI.
You love it?
Yeah, I use it a lot.
What do you like? ChatGPT stuff, or like do you use it?
I like Claude. I use it. We use it like we'll take this conversation. We'll get a transcript of it. And then we have like a clips channel where we dissect like different parts of the conversation into 10-minute clips. And we have like a 15-page prompt that we've been building to feed Claude. That will then create the script, and then I have an AI voice that reads the script and like adds context to parts of the conversation that we have. And
in the clip itself?
Yeah,
it's kind of tight.
Yeah, that, and then there's just going to be a lot of people fearmonger about AI, but it's like similar to the Luddites and the red flaggers when the cars came. Like it's just going to make us more efficient and more productive.
Yeah, that's what I was always wondering. Everyone's like, it's going to take over and beat his ass. It's like I think people picture like an iRobot scenario where like robots come and attack us. Like when they say like AI is going to take over, it's like how? What's it going to do?
Yeah, I always left side of the bell curve. It just like unplug the computers if ever it gets to that point.
Hit the one of us has to be brave and hit the motherboard, dude. Yeah. I'm ready to hit the motherboard.
Yeah. No, I think AI is, it's cool. The AI headlines the last like 5 days been pretty exciting. It seems like.
What do they have?
China released an AI.
I heard China's got a pretty nasty AI.
It's a pretty sick AI that.
So fucked up. Their AI smarter than our AI, dude. It's bullshit, dude.
But they did something nobody expected. They open sourced it, which is like, you compare it's like OpenAI and Anthropic, the American AI companies, all their shit's closed source.
I know. Did they really? To who? Like, who did they open source it to? The world, or just?
Yeah, you can go and look at the code and see how it runs and download it on your own computer. But
then you can't have like Facebook or something in China.
No, yeah, China's very weird.
That actually makes sense because they can open source their AI and then keep their internal dwellings kind of like closed off for like authoritarian purposes. But it does make sense. Like, let's just mine.
Yeah, well,
all the data we can.
I've been in the Bitcoin mining industry for 7 years now, and that being in that industry, you just naturally find yourself counteracting with a lot of Chinese. Chinese are fucking ruthless capitalists. Like they get shit done.
Yeah, I know. I used to laugh about it on the podcast. I downloaded Street Fighter on my phone, and I used to play every night before bed, and I would just get my ass handed to me and I would just see like the names. I'm like, bro, these old Chinese kids are tearing my fucking ass up every night. It was like my one win I was trying to get for the day. I would just get like double flawless.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, I can't compete.
And it's funny, the American propaganda is like, it's this communist dictatorship, which it is, like the CCP exists, but just from working with Chinese, like all they care about is making money and getting shit done. And
yeah, dude, they get, well, yeah, I'll be curious to see how that plays out too. I don't know anything about anything, but I am curious to see if we actually do somehow go to war. Do we have to geopolitically destabilize China in order to?
I don't think so.
Exist.
That's I think we need to figure out the money thing. That's like the big problem right now, and the money is why we're in this position with China too. Is that like in 1971 when we went off the gold standard, when Nixon was like, we're not tethering the dollar to the gold anymore. That sort of set in motion a series of events that led to the U.S. flooding international markets with dollars because they needed to create demand for the dollar to keep it the reserve currency. And the ramifications of that were you hollowed out your manufacturing base and just moved to China and flooded them with dollars for their cheap labor. And that's part of the reason we've ended up in this hyper volatile situation, particularly with China, is they have a lot of leverage now because they make all the shit that we use, and that's part of the reason MAGA has sort of come into power now, is because Trump and everybody behind him are like, this is a problem we need to fix, and that's sort of what we're dealing with now 50 years later after the gold standard. Because
I do wonder about that, man. If it's like if you know, I'm sure we do, like, we make stuff here, but not like the ratio of stuff we make versus imports, it's sliver. Yeah. So it is weird, like, how does a country keep kind of rocking and rolling if it's not like, if you like break it down to the basic goods, is like, what are you producing? You need good money. Yeah. And that's the core of the issue, is we fucked up the money, and it's created these negative externalities to force us to basically hollow out our manufacturing base and send it overseas. Yeah, I mean, it does make sense. If you try to start a company that's just too big, it makes sense that it would just kind of at some point unravel, because it's like, dude, it's just too much. Yeah. I'm optimistic though. I think things are gonna. I think to solve a problem, you need to recognize the problem, and I think more people recognize there's a fucking big problem than ever before. This rip was brought to you by our great friends at Unchained. As Bitcoin's role in the global financial landscape evolves, understanding its potential impact on your wealth becomes increasingly crucial. Whether we see measured adoption or accelerated hyper-Bitcoinization, being prepared for various scenarios can make the difference between merely participating and truly optimizing your position. This is important, freaks. This is why Unchained developed the Bitcoin Calculator, a sophisticated modeling tool that helps you visualize and prepare for multiple Bitcoin futures. Beyond traditional retirement planning, it offers deep insights into how different adoption scenarios could transform your wealth trajectory. What sets this tool apart is the integration with the Unchained IRA, the only solution that combines the tax advantages of a retirement account with the security of self-custody. In any future state, maintaining direct control of your keys remains fundamental to your Bitcoin strategy. Go explore the potential futures at unchained.com/TFTC. Bitcoin is going up. Make sure you're protecting it the right way. Make sure you have a good partner. That is Unchained. Go to unchained.com/TFTC. So how does it kind of tie into, like, where's like Wall Street sit amongst all this? So if Wall Street's doing great, but meanwhile the country's tied to a giant, just like black hole of a debt, how does Wall Street kind of keep its place through like a transition if we were to go to Bitcoin? Would it just switch to like a Bitcoin based Wall Street, or is it like, how do public companies then run? You know what I mean? Yeah, Wall Street, they're not going to be too happy about it, because a lot of the money they've made is because of fiat money. You've been able to create this hyper financialized economy that's based on debt, derivatives, all of that. And if something like Bitcoin were to take over, the ability to do that would be significantly restricted, because you can't just print money and issue debt to do all that stuff. But there is a place for banks, maybe not in their current form, but you will need institutions to basically lend money and to facilitate financial contracts and stuff like that. But yeah, I think it would be severely reined in. We'll go from this economy that's hyper financialized and hyper tech focused, so we're going to get back to like the physical world, like building shit, manufacturing, and obviously software and finance will still exist, but I think they'll be shrunk back down to the size that they should be. Like Wall Street before the 80s, before the basically productization and the emergence of collateralized debt obligations and the tranching of all these debt products, it was boring. Being a banker was not an exciting, lucrative thing. Yeah, that makes sense. I think we're going to go back to something like that. It's just something simple, like I need a loan, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Yeah, that's so, and then so Bitcoin is finite in the amount, but it's infinite in terms of how much they can all be worth. So that way it's like, even if you only have, if the price of the fixed thing is going up organically. Yeah. Your purchasing power of each unit goes up, so you can buy more with less. Yeah, like your money, exactly. It's kind of cool, actually. It's the way money's supposed to work. Yeah. That's the other thing. We live in this anomalous time in human history where money's just becoming worth less. Like, look at COVID. They printed $6 trillion. Yeah, my friend was telling me that. My friend does finance, and he's not like, I wouldn't say he's anti-Bitcoin. He's like, I don't understand. It doesn't generate cash flow. He's like, the big blue chip companies paid dividends throughout like the Great Depression. So he's like, they'll pretty much always pay you dividends. So you're buying, in his I think it makes sense. It's like you're buying these like whatever they're called, EMF type things, whatever. Like a what the fuck's the word for that thing?
ETF?
Whatever. Something like a collection of stocks, a mutual fund.
ETF.
ETF. That's what it is. I'm thinking of electromagnetic fields, but yeah, he's like, you buy these ETF things, and it's like a little tiny house you're buying. And instead of paying you rent, it's paying you like 40 cents per several $100 share.
No, and there's a place. I think that saying I don't get Bitcoin doesn't produce a dividend is just trying to equate Bitcoin to a stock or compare it to a stock, where it's completely different. And there's room for both. Like I run a venture fund where we invest in Bitcoin companies, and some of them pay us dividends on their profits. Like you're still going to have business formation and cash flows and income statements and balance sheets. And if you're invested in that company and they have a profit, and you're going to get a dividend. Yeah. If it's set up the right way. Bitcoin's just it's a different type of asset. Like,
gotcha. No, that makes sense. So that makes sense, because otherwise if you have dollars, they literally do. I think it's like 3%. The value is like 3% every year or something.
More than that.
Yeah.
That's the official like CPI number, the Consumer Price Index, which the government, it's their inflation tracker. And that's where it's right around like 3% now, but real inflation is probably closer to like 12, 15%.
That's what sucks, man. If you keep your money in your bank, you're like, I'm doing the right thing. I got my money in the bank and it's just getting devalued.
No, you're fucked.
It sucks.
You're forced to become a stock picker. Like pick the right mutual fund, pick the right ETF, buy the right house, like that.
Just to fight off inflation. I didn't know that. I was like, dude, if you work hard and save your money, one day you'll have a bunch of it. And it's like, it's getting just gutted while it's sitting in a bank account, and you have to kick it out somewhere else and pray to God that like that gets more. Otherwise it just kind of like disintegrates.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of shitty. It kind of sucks, man.
Yeah, you don't want to save your money and you don't want to save your money in a currency that they can just hit a button and print more of, because that's the whole idea of Bitcoin. You save your money in a currency that nobody can hit a button and print more of.
Yeah, and the government could the government somehow aggress it and just do like a hostile takeover and be like, enough?
No, I mean they could certainly try to make it hard for people to access and use Bitcoin, but that's the extent to which I think they would be able to do it. And even then,
true,
you just go to like the war on drugs, like they try to get people to stop smoking pot.
Yeah,
and that's the beauty of Bitcoin. Like you can literally download a piece of software and you have access to the network. And
so, and that's what people are so, because I like, my friend works, he was like working in like the advertising company or advertising department of a company. And he'd always be like, yeah, like my bosses are just like forcing me to read about like the blockchain. They're stoked on the blockchain. They'd have like meetings about it. Like, how's this going to affect our company? And that is there any sort of like non-monetary applications of blockchain, or is it just relate to money? I don't know. People say blockchain. I'm like,
yeah, no,
I don't really know what it is.
Many people think there are, and they're trying to make it happen, but it's like trying to make fetch happen. Like it's not.
What's fetch?
Is that Mean Girls thing? Is that what it is? Make fetch a thing? Whatever. Mean Girls? Yeah.
No, I don't know.
It's like, stop trying to make it happen. Like, I think it's only for money.
I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Because like to run what is a blockchain? Is this distributed ledger tracking it, and what incentivizes people to actually spin up hardware to buy electricity and to facilitate the blockchain. It's the token, the monetary reward that you get for doing that. When it comes to storing, like using the blockchain to store votes or medical records, like the incentive, like the reward.
That makes sense.
Doesn't exist. So you're essentially everything that people will say, oh, we need a blockchain for this. You're much better served with just a regular database.
That makes sense. I've never ever had it. That makes perfect sense. I've never had anyone explain to me what the fuck a blockchain was.
Yeah.
So just an incentivize for someone to do a certain thing to keep the network going, and you get the little coin as a reward.
You get the Bitcoin as a reward. Yeah.
Pretty simple, actually.
Yeah. It's not that complex. It's pretty simple. Yeah. It is. That is part of Bitcoin's beauty too. It's a very simple system. And people will rag on it because it's so simple. They're like, oh, we need to do all this smart contracts, all this blockchaining stuff. And it's like, no, you just need to not fuck up the money and make sure that the system's set up in a way where it's very hard to fuck up the money. That's what Bitcoin does. Yeah. And then, because it's like, I guess you have to just go, and then under that, just figure out how to provide value, and like any other economy. Yeah. Just get. That's what we get back to. And like, that's like, look at all the trends since we went off the gold standard. It's a great site. WTF happened in 1971. You look at all the charts of productivity skyrocketing, income is flat. Like,
yeah,
fertility rates crashing, families with dual income skyrocketing. It's like everybody's being forced to run on this hamster wheel to keep up with inflation because we fucked up the money. And it has very perverse negative externalities on all of society. Right?
Yeah.
That's obesity rates up, depression rates up, alcoholism, deaths of despair.
Yeah.
It's because people are on the hamster wheel because they fucked up the money.
Yeah, true. I didn't even think about that. That's kind of fucked up, actually.
Yeah, we're getting heavy here. I'm sorry.
No, dude. That's, yeah. Then you throw like the internet has been like so, you know, the internet's added like a weird commodification of just like reality itself, which is like, that shit, I bug out on that all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, just like social media, like you then turn your life into like a weird product and like kind of like, how can I attach brands to myself and get eyeballs on me? It freaks me. That's like, you know, it's what I do for a living, but it like,
yeah, same.
It freaks me the fuck out, dude. I'm like, this is, and then like, how does that alter people's behavior too? Knowing like, well, if I do this thing and then my like, you know, my likeness is recorded and like acting a certain way, what's like the incentive and like everything, there's like a huge incentive to be kind of inflammatory and all this stuff. And it's like it's a real incentive.
Yeah.
Then that starts to like get down into people's like, they're not even being recorded. Then they start like acting the way. It's like anyone will do that. If you know there's a reward, just like the Bitcoin thing, there's a reward for doing a certain type of behavior. That behavior is going to be just like emulated in mass. Yeah,
we had the hard decision to capitulate on YouTube and make the cheesy thumbnails because you
have to.
You have to.
There's software where you can, I'm sure you've heard of this, where you can kind of test. Yeah, you can test 5 different thumbnails, swap them with like an AI. It's like, yeah, dude, they got to be bright and eye catching and, you know, blah, blah, blah.
Well, the incentive there is where it's YouTube, X, Facebook, like you are the product. Like they're big advertising platforms essentially at the end of the day. And the data you feed it creates attention that you can then serve ads under. And yeah, that attention economy creates these where like you go on YouTube or X and the algo is feeding you a bunch of bullshit. It's turning into like a TikTok like thing.
Bro, X is crazy.
Yeah.
I was holding out. Everyone's like, and I'm like, it's the same shit it always was. And I'm on X. I'm like, this is fucked up, dude.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Like, you know, I had to actively like say, I don't want to see this anymore to murder videos. I'm like, please do not show me videos.
I thank God didn't get the murder videos. I don't know what happened. I get more like race baiting kind of stuff. I'll get like hardcore kind of
punch out game stuff.
I get a lot of that. Yeah. I'll get a good amount of that. And then I get a lot of just like, you know, politicians owning other politicians. It's just like that with like, just guys being like, here's the fucking deal with this thread. Yeah. You read it and you're like, oh, I have no idea what the fuck this guy's talking about.
And there's products coming to market where integrating Bitcoin to sort of fix this incentive problem. I'm not sure if you've heard of Podcasting 2.0 or...
I have, actually. I think it's pretty cool. That's Adam Curry. Yeah.
The Podfather himself.
I know. So how does that work again? I've heard of that before.
So when we send this out, particularly the podcast feeds, it goes out via RSS, which is an open content distribution protocol. And RSS is very simple. It's just HTML with info about the episode, the file. And in the HTML, what Adam did, he basically inserted this block where you can put a Bitcoin address in. And so when I send this episode out to RSS and all other episodes, I have a Bitcoin address in my RSS feed. And you're beginning to see Spotify like apps pop up that have Bitcoin wallets in them. And if people go and top that Bitcoin wallet up and then listen to the podcast, they can stream Bitcoin straight to my wallet.
Like a little tip, basically. Being like
a little tip, yeah. And then you can stream like 100 sats. There's 100 million sats in a Bitcoin, so you can send like a half a penny a minute that you want to listen. And I mean, the theory is in aggregate, if people adopt this widely, like you could change from a advertising monetization model to value for value is what Adam calls it. And the listeners can stream you a little bit of Bitcoin.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's kind of, it's like, you know, especially like Patreon kind of works that way. You find out recently, you find out eventually that like, it's not about like there's this whole idea of like scarcity and being like, if you do this, I'll do this. If it's just like, hey, you know, appreciate it. People will kind of give you money because they just like what you're doing. Yeah. You don't need to be like, if you do this, I will show you, you know, it's like you don't have to like, not like manipulate, but you don't have to do all that shit you used to do, like an act now, blah, 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 like create like some sort of weird feeling in them, be like, pay me.
No, and I've seen it with this show too. It like creates a good incentive for high value content, because what we'll find, like if we have a banger of an episode, I'm sure people love this episode, they'll send us more Bitcoin, and that's like a signal like, hey, produce more of this content and I'll send you more Bitcoin. And if it's like a good,
that's pretty cool,
valuable conversation, like that's what Adam calls it, is value for value. If the listener perceives they're getting value, they will reciprocate that in a monetary form of value, Bitcoin.
I'm telling you, it's one of those weird true things. Is they like, people like, they take your content, they rip it. We get it happen to us all the time. We used to be like, what the fuck? And now it's like, it doesn't matter. There's like completely worthless trying to fight it, because it really is, the thing that is driving it is people being like, I like this, and I would just like to show them appreciation. Yeah,
that's one way. There's like other average, like now you're seeing too, there's like social networks with Bitcoin wallets attached to them, and advertisers starting, like inverses the advertising model, where an ad sucks your attention and your time and you get no value out of it. Where now with these apps, like an advertiser can literally send you Bitcoin with an ad attached to it and saying like, all right, I'm sending you a little bit of Bitcoin to get this ad in front of you, instead of just like having the ad and getting no value. You're actually getting a little bit of value. I'm like, oh, maybe I'll read the ad now because you sent me some Bitcoin.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I was like trying to figure out, I was like, wait, what? They're still paying? Okay, so you send it to the person, like, hey, if you watch this, I'll give you.
So advertisers can pay for your attention.
That's a cool idea.
It's a more fair trade. Who knows how it'll work out, and these things will actually find product market fit. But you can see the beginnings of like experimenting with these new incentive models and Bitcoin enabling.
It's a cool idea, because they need to figure something out with the ads too, like for podcasts, because it's like, dude, I like try to tell them, like, dude, if you were to condense it into like a 5-second, like real quick, hey, this is what it is, blah, 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 boom. People are like, oh, cool. Rather than like like the minute long, it's just like.
Are you guys selling dick pills yet?
I mean, we've sold some dick pills for sure.
I worked at Barstool doing podcast ad sales back in the day. That was like Roman and hers started, and Hims became big, and it was like, you're just pushing dick pills on everybody.
Yeah, that's all there is. It's like, it really is like, I mean, there's some companies that like vitamin this and this and that, but yeah, a lot of it is dick pills, gambling.
Yeah, gambling's big right now.
It's like completely baked into sports now. It's not even, it used to be a thing like, like your uncles would be like quiet with a notepad, like plus that. Now it's just like on TV. It's like bet here.
No, like before the Eagles game on Sunday, like the Fox broadcast team had to give their prop bets before the game. So.
Yeah, man. It's also like kind of depressing, because, at least it is to me, because it's like, because you should think like, well, all right, well, everyone's doing it anyway. Like, why hide it? And it's like, for sure. Like, I totally agree with that. And then it's like, well, are human beings like genuinely powerless against whatever happens neurologically when people are gambling? It's like I don't really get a huge kind of kick from gambling. I mean, I've done it before and it is fun. I get why people get like so excited, but I don't have that, like, there's not like a hook for gambling. Yeah. If I lose, I'm like, I hate this. But it's like, is there a huge swath of the population that is effectively powerless against the whatever state is achieved from gambling in a way that is ultimately like detrimental on society as a whole? And it's like,
I think so. Like,
I think it's pretty clear. I think it's pretty clear, but it's like, but for me, that's kind of one of those weird things, is there's people like Robert Sapolsky, who's that guy from, I think, Stanford, who's a neurologist, who he kind of argues that there's no free will in general, and that we're all pretty much right. And I don't like that view. Just for no other reason than I just find it like not like offensive and like shocking.
You
offensive.
To think you have agency.
Yeah, but I'm just like, I don't know. And then it opens up a weird can of worms where it's like, so if you have like a rapist or a pedophile, he was like, you just treat them like a faulty machine. It's like smashing them up in a junkyard, you mean? Or like, do you mean like, what do you mean by that? And like, how does that actually, we destroyed faulty machines.
No, it's like good and evil exist, and gambling, like people are susceptible to hedonistic degeneracy, and you have to like fight it actively. I do believe you have the free will. I mean, plenty of examples of alcoholics that have gotten clean.
Yeah, it's true.
Gotten clean.
It is true. People do it. People do it. Yeah. But it's like with alcohol, the weird thing is like you're out, you're crashing your car. With gambling is like, you're like,
you're not paying.
I'm a little tight right now, and you're like, I'm gonna get them back. There's not like, until you like blow the college savings, the big one. Until you blow the college savings, you're just like, what the fuck did you do? And you're like,
Yeah.
Well, the Chiefs are going to do it. The Chiefs are going to
They have
win.
all the money right now. They're spending all the ad dollars. Like, yeah. And I think about Philly, like Xfinity Live and all the casinos that are by the stadiums now. I'm like, I don't know if I like this.
Yeah, man. I mean, they mainstreamed it, and it was just like, and again, I was always a big legalize everything guy, and I still kind of am. It's like, it's on you, dude. If someone comes up with a trap that can ensnare you like that, like, not like, you know, like it sucks for you, but it's like we do still exist in nature, man. And it's like there are predatory aspects, you know, of just reality in general. So it's like it is incumbent upon every individual to protect themselves from being preyed upon, but some people just can't.
No, and it's completely predictable. Like, again, this is part of the hamster wheel. Like, people are getting so desperate that, like, finance, they call it the risk curve. Like, the more desperate you get, the further out in the risk curve you go. And I think that's what the product of legalized gambling and the normalization of it is. People like, fuck it, like, I'm just gonna put it on this parlay prop bet and try to make it all back.
That is funny. There is a risk curve. There every one of us has at some point. It's like one of those like Pareto's distribution, like, you know, like when they take like behavior and mathematical function, at some point all of us will, under some circumstances, like blow a guy in a truck stop. It's like, at what point do you get there? That'd be a cool butterfly effect where a guy is just about to blow a dude in a truck stop but gets the butterfly effect and has to like go through his life to like stop himself.
I think that was actually like a part of that movie.
What?
Yeah, I think there was like
Was there really?
There was a timeline where he became like a degenerate,
really
dick-sucking drug addict.
I didn't know that. There were so many movies I saw when I just like smoked so much weed from the time. Just like, I'm not bragging or whatever. It was just high school. It's all I did. I just smoked weed constantly. So I saw so many movies that are like really well known. Couldn't tell you what happens.
I'm pretty sure that was one of like
I don't remember. I believe you. There's so many movies. They're like, you saw that? And I was like,
well, maybe it wasn't him. I think it was the girl. Who's the girl?
What?
Yeah, she did.
The girl becomes.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. And then he has to kind of like go back into like dream world and be like, fuck.
Yeah.
Got to stop myself.
I forgot about that movie. It's
the movie's kind of sick. The movie was awesome. It just seems like an impossible. I don't remember how it ended. I don't remember it resolving. I remember the top spinning and being like, fuck, Leo's still trapped in dream world.
Oh, dude.
But yeah, I mean, it is a tricky thing. Again, I'm not saying I'm like qualified to talk about like global solutions, but it is weird. Like, how do you organize society in a way that's like maximally beneficial? That's like the question is, you know, should you adapt society for the man, or does man have to adapt himself for society? And how do you kind of, you know, how do you organize it in a way that is good while also not being like babysitting like there's like the utopian dream of like, you know, like we'll just have, you know, bread and honey for everybody versus like, no, we exist in nature and like there's, you kind of do on some level have to fend for yourself. Well, also the whole point of society is to kind of buffer us from like the literally horrible, terrifying, you know, fact that is nature, where it is like utterly predatory and like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, and that's, I don't think it's that complex as people make it out. Again, going back to this idea, I think we get into these massive problems because you have sociopathic leaders who come to power and centralize power and say, I know the solution. I'm going to do these things. We're going to fix the world. It just makes things worse.
Yeah.
Where I think I'm a believer in like free market economics, and like I think individuals making decisions with data and information that is very close to their lived experience would produce a better society overall, instead of having central planners in DC try to make decisions for everybody, not only in the 50 states, but the whole world.
Yeah, that makes sense. And when they're also obviously beholden to lobbyists, people being like, dude, I need you to do this for me.
Yeah.
Which is like, okay, that makes sense. I get it. But it's like, yeah, I understand how that would eventually not work out for the rest of pretty much everybody else. It would just kick off a domino effect where they're like, yeah, actually, what are you, a terrorist? Stop fucking complaining. Stop complaining.
Well, I mean, you said, I don't know if I'm equipped to, but I've always found comedians, and I don't want to paint a wide brush on all comedians, but I think part of the art form and what makes me a huge fan of comedy is that you guys are able to really get to the core of shared sort of problems or lived experiences and articulate it in sort of point out, like, we all have similar experiences. So at least identifying problems or things that are worth talking about that maybe people don't vocalize. Is that?
No, that makes sense. I mean, it is weird to be like, all right, I have to somehow elicit like a semi-unconscious spasm out of people.
Yeah.
It's fucking weird, man. To be like, I have this thing triggered some weird feeling in myself, and I'm betting that if I say this in a room full of people, it'll like, invoke some weird subconscious spasm that everyone will be like, that's good. You're like, oh, fuck. I try not to think about it actually at all because it freaks me out.
It is powerful though.
It's nuts, dude. It's fucking crazy.
I think particularly post-COVID, like the comedy world has played a very important part in helping people grapple with all the shit going on in the world and develop the confidence to be like, yeah, maybe something is wrong here. Like I had that feeling too.
Yeah, there is something to that, man, where it's like that was like Sigmund Freud's big thing, that laughter is like the release of psychic tension. So it's like, if you take all these big scary things and you can kind of package them and aim them at that part of your brain that like shuts down and just kind of like produces like a weird good feeling. You can like talk about anything and people will laugh, and it's like you can take like the most fucked up stuff, but you can target somehow the part of people's brain that just bypasses the amygdala, and they're like, fucking pedophiles are fucking weird. Yeah, it's kind of nuts. It is weird. It is kind of crazy.
Did you ever stumble upon that? What was it? The Mind of Ideas YouTube page. They had these YouTube videos they were putting out. They're like 20 minutes. The one was on mass psychosis.
Academy of Ideas.
Yeah,
I love it. I'm on their page. I do their Patreon. I love those guys.
Yeah, they're incredible. They had like the 2 or 3 part mass psychosis where they basically explained like what was happening with the lockdowns and why everybody was being compliant. And then part 2 was the solution, which was you literally make fun of these people and embarrass them and let everybody else know it's cool to make fun of these people because it erodes their power at the end of the day.
No, that's pretty cool. I remember I've seen a lot of their videos, and it was funny because I did kind of get, it was like, that guy, if you've watched the videos, it's very like calm, kind of like, it's just like kind of scholarly tone. And his video, you could tell the guy like got pissed because his videos became like slightly, he had like a bit of edge to his voice. Like, all right, what the fuck are we doing, everybody? Trying to make my cool YouTube channel. The fucking world's going crazy. That was kind of funny to watch.
Yeah. But his solution to having the amygdala shut down and just sort of throw yourselves at the whims of the authoritarians was like, no, we need to start making fun of these people.
Yeah, well, I mean, dude, and it was like, it is weird because, I don't know, maybe some people like this, but like it does seem to me that like they obviously did co-opt a lot of the comedy stuff. Like the authoritarian, like what we could argue is like the more authoritarian class.
So like,
like every late night show is kind of like it's like, dude, if
Colbert dancing with vaccines and
it's like, dude, if you want to make fun of Trump, knock yourself out. I'm not gonna be like, you can't do that. But it was like they all did it under the exact same kind of like, it's more like they were just like this place of like moral disgust at like anyone, and it was just so like. It was just bizarre that like they all did the same, they all had the same take, and it's like, how? You know what I mean? There's no way, unless there's just like the natural pressure of being like, I can kind of perceive that if I step out of line.
It's either that or Operation Mockingbird.
Yeah, true. But it is bugged out. It's just kind of like, dude, you guys all think the exact same thing. Yeah. Like, you guys don't have anything else to say about anybody. It was just kind of like, I don't know.
No, there's even one point where...
And it's not funny. Like, it sucked, dude.
Nobody watches it.
Dude, I remember so
my 16th birthday, we were a big fan of Conan growing up. This was before Jay Leno sort of cucked him.
Yeah.
My 16th birthday, we went up from Philly to New York to see Conan O'Brien. Maybe it was...
Everyone loved him. Dude, we all watched him.
Naive high schooler, but he was hilarious.
Yeah.
He was edgy, and it's completely changed since then.
Yeah, what does he even do? He has a podcast now, right?
Yeah, Coco or something like that.
Yeah. Dude, I don't know. I think if you want to kind of like... there's only so many networks, and if you kind of want to do your thing, I'm like, yeah, bro.
Well, the networks are dying. Like,
cool that shit down.
Like, yeah. I was prepping for this. I watched your the episode they did with Theo Vaughn a couple months ago. That had like 1.2 million views. Like that does more numbers than any singular episode of Colbert. Jimmy Fallon. Dude.
Well, I swear to, I think they do it just to pump out clips because it's like nobody's watching. I can't even imagine a world where I'm like staying up in bed with my wife being like, hold on, Colbert's about to come on. Let's catch this before we fall asleep. Like, nobody does that. No, they're competing with your phone. It's like, dude, yeah, right, man.
And then they're interviewing people making shitty movies that nobody wants to see anymore. It's like,
wow.
Yeah. Who knows if it's just like the natural degradation of the form or just like the internet's just completely torpedoing all of it. But
your phones is you can't compete with that, man. It's like I can, if anything good happens on TV, it's going to come up on my phone. And I have at the same exact, remember like flipping through channels and like, 61, 32, maybe take it up to 95 for a second, come back down. Spice is 95.
No, you had like Comcast in your house, your neighbors had DirecTV, or your buddy had DirecTV, go over, you're like, fuck, I don't know what channel anything is.
Exactly. But you were like bounced between like, all right, I know like Storage Wars is on this, I'm going to jump back to this thing I was kind of watching. Now you can just be like, boom, boom. Oh, that was kind of funny. Or, oh, wow, I stumbled across a 20-minute video. I'm going to watch this whole thing. Like, it just, the rush you get from your phone, TV can't compete with that, dude. It's like not even close, dude. I feel crazy if I'm at a hotel and I'm like,
that's what I was just about to say.
Yeah, like you're like trying to navigate that menu. I'm like, bro, I'm going to kill myself, dude. This is so boring. It's like, do you ever read Infinite Jest?
No.
They talk about, sorry, I don't want to drop it like such a snob. Like, have you ever read IJ? But the central theme of that is, it's like an entertainment cartridge, where that was David Foster Wallace's big thing. He was like, dude, the technology's growing in every other sector. It's going to grow in it's going to grow in entertainment to the point, and this is in the 90s he wrote this, it's going to become so addictive that we're going to be kind of powerless against it. Yeah. And then, dude, like, that he was combating like USA, like Rambo, like 1, 2, and 3. He was like, I can't get anything done. This is so enticing.
He's an Uncle Ted acolyte.
The what?
An Uncle Ted Kaczynski acolyte.
No. I don't know. Maybe he vibed.
I mean, that was Ted's whole thing. Was like this.
He could have vibed with Ted as well, but he was like, bro, we're not going to be able to. It's going to surpass our ability to contend with, to like our whatever. If you want to reduce like your willpower down to like, available magnesium and electricity and water, he's like, we're not going to be able to compete with this, and it's going to suck us all into it. And then he killed himself in like the 90s, I think. And then, lo and behold, now we have the internet, and it's like, I think he nailed that one.
Yeah.
Like, your phone's so addicting.
And purposely so. And
it's fucked up.
And that's the, especially with young kids now, trying to figure out how to make sure they don't grow up like with craned necks because they're looking down.
Yeah.
I think we're doing an okay job so far, but I mean, at some point it's just going to be like,
dude, well, the schools, like I was like touring schools for my oldest kid, and it's like, there's just TVs in the class, like a giant, not a chalkboard, a huge fucking screen. It is a TV. I'm like, why do you guys have that? And they're like, well, it's like our projector. I'm like, that's not a fucking, projectors were shitty handwriting on a like dimly lit thing. That's a screen with like, like the settings they do in Best Buy, where it's like the brightest colors imaginable.
Yeah, you get the blue light.
It's like, why do you need that? Like, take that shit the fuck out of the classroom. Yeah. And they're like, well, this is just what we use. And it's like, Jesus Christ.
That's one thing I wonder is going to change too. It's like, we're still running on like a purely communist Austrian style of schooling, particularly in public schools. But I don't know, going back to like AI, like I'm pretty motivated to create like an at-home, not saying that we're going to homeschool our kids, but like AI is getting to the point where you can create like a curriculum. Like in college, I skipped classes and just taught myself everything on Khan Academy. Like, I don't think classes are like physical classes are as necessary as they may have been. And one could argue they weren't even necessary. I fucking hated school growing up.
Oh, I fucking hated it, dude. I still hate it. I go into school. I was talking to my cousin about this, and his daughter will be like, I love my teacher. And he'll be like, I fucking hated my teachers. But I mean, I think you do need, the socialization's good. Getting kids together, letting them socialize is good. But yeah, I'm on the same page, man. I think school should be like, just cut all the stupid bullshit of like memorizing. Like, it's like, learn stuff, identify like, all right, what does this kid seem inclined towards from a young age, and kind of plug and play with the interest. Give them like obviously the basics of like math, like get them reading, math, all that stuff. And dude, it should be like, you should go to school. It should be like, in my opinion, the first hour and a half should be like intense physical activity.
Yeah.
Like the idea that like we're going to wake you up prematurely and then sit you in a chair and just spout fucking bullshit at you it's literally, it infuriates me to think about. It should be, you get there, all right, you got to get up a little early, whatever. But then it's like wild physical, like intense physical activity. And then it's like, all right, let's cool down, blah, blah, blah. And now we're going to like try to like identify interest and do like, I think a lot of schools do this now though. It's like project-based learning where it's like, we're all going to get down on a project. We're going to study penguins.
Yeah.
And it's like, how many penguins are there in that picture? That way with like kindergarten and stuff. Now we're like sneakily kind of doing math. Now you see why you have to do that. And then we can learn about like, well, this is where these guys learn, you know, this is how cold it is there. And like, I love that. But like the block style math. So it's pisses me off, dude. I fucking hate it so bad.
I found a somewhat degenerate way to begin teaching my son math. Ever played the game Shut the Box?
Mm-mm. Oh, you're talking about the dice game?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have. I love
So
that
we
game.
played that.
That game's so fucking fun.
That's how he's learning math and counting. And
that's
all
awesome.
That. Yeah.
That's, dude, it's like, I mean, it kind of ties in, but that's what I've been doing with writing recently where it's like, one of the things I'm trying to write another book right now and all this stuff, but like just getting yourself to sit down and do it every day. And maybe this is like kind of bad, but what I've recently doing is I've never done like nicotine. I never did like the pouches, I've smoked cigarettes here and there, but like I never was like whatever. So I started doing the nicotine. I have lozenges that I only do when I write. So I've essentially addicted myself to writing via nicotine. It's been kind of working lately.
That's, I've been woefully addicted to nicotine since I was 15, as you can see here. But
I keep telling everyone, like, I don't think it's addicting. And day by day, I'm like, I think the world's got a point on this side.
Nicotine's good for you.
I think so too, man.
It's like they literally can't write caution this may cause cancer because it doesn't.
It doesn't, exactly.
They can only say it's addictive, which it is. But it's like a, what do they call it? Nootropic. Like you get your neuroplasma or your, whatever they're called.
Yeah, the only thing I've heard is that if you are very addicted to it, it'll wake you up in the middle of the night because it's like...
Solution to that, fucking rub magnesium cream on your feet. Sleep.
What?
8 hours a night.
Really?
Yeah.
I take the magnesium pills.
I got this cream that I put on the bottom of my feet. It
What?
fucking knocks me out.
What?
Yeah.
Dude, that sounds awesome, actually.
Yeah, it is. It is. But going back writing, like, so... That's how I got into this. I started writing. I wrote a daily newsletter about Bitcoin every day for 6 years.
Damn.
It's hard. Like I have not written as much as I used to. It's the output. But writing is incredible. I love writing just because it helps me it helps me better understand what my thoughts actually are when you actually have to sit down and articulate it.
It's a sad moment when you find, like when you first put it, like, this is the best idea, and you lay it down on paper and look at it, you're like, I'm a fucking idiot, man. I'm the dumb. But that's the thing with writing I really like. It's like, once I got over like the fear, like, I guess, yeah, it was like a fear, like self-worth kind of issue where you're like, you have all these fantastic dreams of like, I'm going to write this, I'm going to write that. Then you do it and you're like, this fucking sucks. But then once I was able to be like, oh, now that I have something, I can improve this. And then that, like, for me, it was like, oh, it's so easy. All I got to do is get like my shitty idea on paper and then just keep passing over it and passing over it. And then next thing you know, it's like, this is actually pretty good.
Yeah. What was the book about?
Right now, we're still determined. I'm writing it with my friend Pedro Salinas, but it's loosely based on a guy who has kind of like, him and a girl have like a mystical experience when they're like 10 years old. And then she ends up in a nut house and he ends up becoming a psychologist. And then he kind of loses his mind and they like come back together, and then it jumps from like the 70s to like now. And they kind of are like, she comes back to kind of haunt him as he's like trying to live like a normal life. That's like the most basic description I can give.
That's pretty, so nonfiction.
Yeah.
Fiction,
yeah.
excuse me.
Yeah, fiction.
That's what we need, better fiction too. Like I've had a lazy idea, but I think it needs to be written. The Death of a Salesman for the Modern Age, which actually would dive into a lot of the shit that we've been talking about the money fucking up. Like I think there's a book to be written, particularly about like finance bros in this era.
That'd be pretty cool.
There's a ton who like dedicated their education, their life, their careers, and then they got there and it was like, it's not as great as it was in the 80s or 90s. And
yeah, dude,
drove a lot of people crazy.
Yeah, my friend who was like, he's deep into finance, and I really like him too because he's like one of my best friends. I know him since like college, but he takes a very like nuts and bolts, like easy approach to finance where it's like people should understand what they're getting when they buy investments. Like he's like it's incentivized for people to kind of sell you an investment product for the fees, when it's not the best one for you. And that's like his big thing. He's like, it's so, you don't have to do that. It's such an unnecessary aspect, because you're fucking with people's like literally their livelihoods. They're the thing they're going to retire on. You think about like your parents working their whole lives and someone being like, yeah, I'm going to clip a bunch of that value just, and give you some shitty financial product.
Yeah.
It's evil. It's so evil, dude.
It is. It's a product of money printing, right? Like,
yeah.
Finance got to the point where it's like similar to universities where we don't have to do our job. We can just raise our prices. Like finance, it's like the name of the game is AUM, assets under management. You get that up, and typically funds will charge anywhere from 1 to 2.5%. And many people, in a fucked up way, they really don't care about the product that they're selling at the end of the day. Yes, they want it to be flashy, and
most don't even understand it. That's the thing.
No.
They don't even understand how it works.
No.
They're just like, they have someone else be like, sell this one make you the most commission. And they have like a little spiel, obviously.
Yeah.
Dude, there was people who approached my parents and were like, they hit you, it's called crash proof retirement. I shouldn't name them. I probably could sleep slander, but it's called like some sort of, something like that. But it's insurance based. And from what I understand, I should say, so, there are these insurance based investments where they're essentially just having you pay into this thing and then letting you use your own money eventually that you've saved and then charging you. They're giving you interest, but then they're matching your interest in a better financial product. So they're like, all right, we'll give you a guaranteed 5-6%. And they take your money and then they just invest it in better products that make more money and kind of get the difference. And then but you're not allowed to access it. And then once 30 years later, they're like, here's your money. Didn't we do an awesome job for you? And it's just like, it was just your money the whole fucking time.
Yeah.
Like you can dip into it, but then you get penalized. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, you take the tax hit. No, I mean, this is...
I guess that's what all banks do, really. But it's like, the way they phrase it for people to be like, those other things are bullshit. And then they do that with your money.
I mean, we talked about $37 trillion in debt. That's not the real debt. That's on balance. At the federal level, it's considered on balance sheet debt. When you factor in Medicaid and Social Security, which are very similar to what you just described. It's those two alone are like 191 trillion. And so altogether, it's like $230 trillion almost of debt. And
oh no,
so we Medicaid and Social Security alone, we owe 190 trillion. But it's a similar story. It's like you give us a piece of your paycheck, we put it into this Social Security fund, and the government's going to invest your money and make sure that you're paid out. And
they're still taking, aren't they still taking Social Security for people?
Yeah.
And they know like it's not going to work.
Yeah,
like,
but
they know this.
It's one of those politically unpalatable third rails you can't touch or approach. You just have to,
that's so funny.
You just have to suck it up and pay your Social Security. No, you're never going to see it.
Yeah, my mom's always like, I'm sorry, you're not going to see that.
No.
It's like I'd have never ever banked on Social Security. I've never thought that was going to happen.
Yeah, and that's an important point. The real debt is like $230 trillion. Not 37.
Damn.
Yeah, and it's like, as a millennial, like I think we should, like I've advocated for this with politicians. Like just stand up. Like I know I'm not going to get it. I'll pay it to a certain point. I'll pay it till I'm 45, and after that, I'm not paying anymore.
Yeah, I'm done.
And
yeah,
I don't expect you to pay me. Like, let's just come to an agreement here, where draw a line in the sand. Anybody above the line is going to get paid out until they die. Anybody below pays until a certain point.
That makes sense. Yeah. You should be able to opt out of that at a certain point.
Yeah.
How much do they even take for Social Security? Like,
I don't know what it is. 6%, maybe 7%.
Whoa, really?
I could be wrong.
But it's something. It's at least 4 or 5.
Logan, if you wanted to look it up.
Damn. So that's a fucking decent chunk.
Yeah.
Oh wow. So yeah, I'm like, whenever I think about taxes, I have to like, damn.
6%. Yeah.
So I always have to like imagine one of my paychecks from like back when I had like jobs in like high school or college. I was always like, Social Security is nothing because my paychecks were like $200.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, it's like fucking $5, man. Who cares? But I'm like, no, that's a lot, man.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just, there's nothing you can do. They just got to take it out. Then what does the government do with your money? Like nothing.
Yeah.
I would argue like nothing too valuable. They'll say we need the roads, we need the healthcare, we need the university system, and I think my belief is that we'd be much better off if the government just kept their hands out and let us figure it out. Yeah.
Just totally private healthcare and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the other, like the healthcare system's completely fucked. From 7 different ways. I mean, there's a book here too, Fiat Food. It goes into like how when you fuck up the money, you fuck up everything. There's like these rippling effects. So like Fiat Food gets into when we got ripped off the gold standard in 1971, like to quell social upheaval, because around inflation, they basically changed, remember the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, they changed the index. They moved the goods around. So they took out like a ribeye, replaced it with ground beef, put like a lot of corn and shitty products in the CPI.
Yeah.
And so they're tracking what are deemed to be lesser substitute goods, and those prices don't change that much, but they manipulated the CPI and then subsidized the corn industry and all this slop that has proliferated over the last 50 years. And so they printed money to create all these cheap food goods to make sure the CPI didn't go up. But all that shit's unhealthy for us. Everybody gets fat as fuck, gets diabetes. And then 50 years later, everybody's unhealthy. And so health costs are going up.
Whoa.
And then you subsidize the healthcare cost and with like the American Care Act, and that fucks up the incentives in that system. So you just have these compounding sort of shit show because we fucked up the money.
Yeah, that's kind of bugged out. But that's insane actually. But the thing is like, all right, so if you have a purely for-profit model running everything unregulated, then it's like, well, does that happen anyway? Because they're like, well, fuck it, I can sell. But then I guess that people are like, well,
you
this
reintroduce
stuff sucks.
Accountability. There's no accountability for any of that. Like,
that makes sense, yeah.
Especially
if the government's being like, this is what you need to eat. Remember the food pyramid back in the day?
That was part of the PSYOP.
Yeah. That's dastardly. I guess if you have free open information, you really can't do that. You can't be like, oh, well, I can read the ingredients and you have a bunch of fucking corn oil or soil and all these different like oils and bullshit in the food.
It's like, oh, meat's bad for you, butter's bad for you, milk's bad for you, eat grains, seed oils and all this shit.
Dude, you know what's fucked up? I was eating, so I like fully, I mean, I was like for real, like lactose intolerant. Like I was like, I'm intolerant. I can't have gluten. That fucked, after when I was 21, that started fucking me up. And then later on, like dairy, I'd eat dairy and just get congested. And it was just like, felt horrible. And then in like a kind of a last ditch effort, because all the like substitute milks, they're terrible, man. And I can tolerate like bad tasting kind of healthy food, like almond milk, oat milk. They're fucking, the first time you have it, it literally like makes you sad.
It's repulsive.
It's so bad. Like, and I like, dude, coconut milk, I will say coconut milk is the exception. Coconut milk's actually really good, but you know, it's whatever, it's good. But then you put it up against whole milk, dude, from a cow, and it's like, it's like not even close. And I spent years drinking like the fake milks. And then, you know, cause it was like, oh, I have to have something. And I for real was like in my head, like milk is actually like the effects were right there. It'd be like a 1-to-1 thing. I had milk, congested, cold like symptoms if I had enough. And then I was like a last ditch effort, literally this year, tried raw milk. And it was, I mean, dude, you know, like better. I was like, you know, I would even sink so low as to have vegan cheese. Like that's how bad, like, no one will just eat vegan cheese unless there's a real reason. Did you ever have vegan cheese?
No.
It's so, dude, it's so bad, dude. It's for real. It's gross. Like it's for real. It is gross. There's like artisanal kind of yeast that are like.
What is it? Is it just like?
I don't know, dude.
Like
it's like potato starch and
it's disgusting.
It's like people can make it artisanally with like nuts where they can take like coconut oil, and it's not bad, but I would hesitate to even call it like. It's more of like a spread. If you make like good vegan, because the holy grail for vegan cheese is to make a good meltable, and it doesn't. It's just like it's crispy and weird. It's so fucking gross. And I ate it for years. Like I was like, no, I can't have dairy. This is the healthier option. And I would get like the most insane gas from eating this shit. And I had to like, because you know it's hard not to eat cheese. Cheese is delicious. Yeah. So I was just like, fuck, man, this is the cheese I have to eat. But I was like, internally, I was like, man, this sets off like a fucked up chain of events in my body every time, hands down, when I have vegan cheese. My body's like, nah, man, this is not it. So I went through all that stuff. And then eventually, like now, you know, I'm in Texas, there's a farmer's market near my house. And I found out I could get raw milk. And I was like, fuck it, man, I might as well try it.
Richardson Farm or?
What the fuck's the name of them? No, it was Ash Acres.
Yeah. Dude, the local pastures got, I mean, the access to good raw milk down here is unlike anything.
I drank it being like, maybe, so I think my thought was like, I heard if you drink raw milk, it helps you start to tolerate dairy better in general because like your body, it has like whatever the enzymes that help break down dairy.
That get taken out if you pasteurize.
Exactly. So I'm like, you know, and I had, but so that was like my base expectation. Like, all right, I'll like not be so, like if you're out to dinner and they cook it in butter, I would get like congested and stuff. Maybe raw milk will help with that. Dude, I got, the first day I had it, I poured myself a tall glass of it. I was like, all right, well, here goes. First of all, I was like a baby on the nipple. And then when I started drinking it, I was just like, oh my God. Oh my God. And then I like that day in particular, I had like kind of like weird brain fog that I thought was just from taking like Zyrtec. I'm like, I took allergy medicine. I'm like foggy. Dude, I'm not lying. Within like 30 minutes, my brain, I was like, what the fuck's my brain feel like it's working like it should? And I'm like, well, this is kind of weird. Maybe it's like placebo. And no, I was feeling like great. I started drinking it every day. I felt fucking like amazing. Then I looked into it and it's like all the nutrients are super bioavailable. Yeah. It's like, it's so good for you.
That's one of the biggest psyops. Raw milk as a term is a psyop. It's just like how...
It's just milk.
It was milk for thousands of years.
And you can test it. Like, that's my thing. People are like, yeah, but you can go like get fucking malaria. And it's like, not malaria, but it's like you can get a fucked up bacterial infection. It's like, dude, you can, just like you test a kid for bacterial infections at the doctor, you can test a vat of raw milk. Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, they're not present now. Just don't let it spoil. Yeah. Like that to me was like, because people get freaked out because I have it at my house and I'm like, you know, you have kids over and I'm like, oh, I have milk, but it's like raw milk. And they're like, no. So I give it to my kids. I'm like, they're fine.
Yeah,
like,
my boys love it. Yeah, that's a deep rabbit hole. It's the Rothschild started that.
Did they really?
Yeah.
It's evil. That's evil. Because once you drink it, because I was even like, man, I feel like a dickhead if I went blind or whatever they try to say.
It started in the UK in the early 1900s. One of the Rothschilds like made a point like we need to hyper pasteurize all the milk. It was like one of the two sort of issues that he brought up the whole time.
I'm all for making a couple bucks, but like if you have to like trick people about milk, it's like that's so evil, dude.
Yeah. Well, like the food pyramid in general, like that. I had a similar thing. It wasn't lactose intolerant. I had fucking debilitating eczema for most of my life until I was 20.
I used to get it from gluten and all that stuff, and it was like more of a recent thing. But you had it. That shit sucks.
Like it was embarrassing. Like in the winter, like it'd be all up my arms, my armpits. Mm-hmm. It was like embarrassing. Like I was very self-conscious about it, and then I figured out it was like sugar and carbs, and I cut them out for like 2 years. I was one of I drank Gatorade like fucking water. Back in college.
Everyone did. We all had iced tea. It was you know.
I cut it out 2 years. I haven't had eczema in like a decade. And
that's crazy.
Yeah. It was just I needed to reset my body from.
And it was the sugar and carbs.
I think fructose corn syrup.
Yeah, I remember when you thought like the green tea Arizonas were like healthy.
Yeah. I thought Gatorade was healthy.
This is ginseng, bro.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've done something recently. I've learned you like just from like messing around with stuff because my A1C was high. My dad has type 2 diabetes, so I'm like I don't feel like I don't want to have diabetes and all that. That like raises all these other mortality markers or whatever. It's just like your A1C being like 0.5 higher increases heart attack, whatever. It's just not good for you. So I started doing like, a keto thing that I don't do like strictly keto, but it's like I've reduced the amount of carbohydrates I eat daily since pretty much like before the new year, by even before that, like Thanksgiving on, probably by like 80%. Yeah. You really don't you don't need
Dude, it's easy to do down here. They don't have sandwiches down here. It's actually pretty
they only have a couple places. Yeah. And I can't eat bread anyway, but I was crushing potatoes, rice, all that stuff. So it was easier for me to do, but I still started sneaking you get like addicted to that like just rush of fucking carbs and sugar, even if it's not refined sugar. And but yeah, I like really took that down. I did like keto for a while, then I was like, all right, well I still want to like, be able to like exercise and all this other stuff, which you can still do on keto, but I noticed like there's something to having like carbs right before you work out that for me kind of works. And like, yeah, I'm like, dude, I like was eating so many carbohydrates a day and it's like.
They make you hungry.
They do, dude. That's the other thing too. Now I just eat like a big breakfast. I just do my thing all day and then I eat dinner and that's it. It's like you don't, lunch is bullshit, dude. Lunch is fucking bullshit.
Psyop of the schooling system. We need the kids to do something between the hours of 12 and 1. We're going to give them lunch.
Yeah, true.
No, I don't know. I'm fucking
Could be, dude.
Actually, I think that psyop is actually the factory worker. It's like they were working so hard. They needed to eat and then it just became normalized to eat. That's what I've heard.
I've heard something similar about that where it's like it keeps people in like a certain rhythm. That was the Maslow, the guy who did the hierarchy of needs and all that stuff. He was big on the whole thing of like just the fact that like, yeah, just a lunch bell in general. He's like, so a bell's going to tell your body it's time to eat. He's like, just wait till you're hungry, dude. Like
Yeah, that's what
just be hungry. Then that's like, if you're not hungry, don't eat.
Yeah.
It's like, well, it's lunchtime. I have to eat now. That was the thing too. You're like, you're in an office. It fucking sucks. You finally get that little like window of freedom outside. And you just run to a place. You're not even hungry. You're like, I have to eat right now. It's fucking soul crushing.
That's what, when I'm not traveling, I'm pretty good with the intermittent fasting. Like I won't eat until like dinner.
See, I'm good with traveling actually, weirdly.
Really? Traveling fucks me up.
I go away on like weekends for shows and I come back and I lose weight. Cause I just won't eat until like, I'm like, all right, now I'm really hungry. And in order to do stand up, I've done it before where I'm like lightheaded from not eating. I'm like, that doesn't work. So I'll just wait, eat like a big meal and then snack on something like during the stand up hours, like, while I'm waiting or whatever. And yeah, it's like, I understand it being obviously, if you have if the options are available to you, it's like, it's impossible not to gain weight.
Yeah. Like I got to go to Nashville tonight and I'm already thinking like, I got to fucking eat at the airport. My flight's at 7. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'll just be hungry. I won't eat at the airport. Every now, Austin airport's decent because they have like tacos and shit.
Yeah.
But I try the days that I fly, I just fast. I don't eat at all until I land.
Maybe I'll do that.
And then once I get there, I'm like really hungry and I'm like, fuck yeah, now I'm going to eat.
Yeah.
Or just go to bed hungry. I'm like, fuck it. I'll eat when I wake up.
Yeah.
But if I have a thing where I need to use my brain, I can't be like fasting.
It seems like again, solve a problem, you need to recognize it exists. Seems like more people are waking on like the MAHA movement. And my wife is maniacal about it. She's like, get the seed oils out. Like we take the raw milk, raw cream. She makes butter. She makes her own pasta.
It's awesome.
Like, yeah.
He's right. Then people who, I mean, it's like, again, it's like, I get if you don't like Trump, whatever, that's fair. I would never be like, no, you're a fucking idiot. It's like, we live different lives. I'm sure you have reasons for stuff. But yeah, to be against like Kennedy and be like, for like wanting to not poison ourselves with food and like get through like the, food propaganda. It's like, what's your problem? What's the problem, dude? It's like we literally have been being slowly and not even being dramatic, like poisoned. Like the food is literally, when you heat fryers are like the bane. I hate fucking fried food. It's like it's a vat of just, carcinogenic chemical sludge that's not supposed to be heated, dude. All like the polyunsaturated fats and like, well, they're on like a whatever molecular level, whatever it is, they're little, they give, and that way when they go through your arteries, they're not like a bad saturated fat that like is like super stable and blocks it. It's like, sure, when you olive oil raw, great, but it's like once you fucking heat that shit at like 600 degrees for 12 hours, it turns into literally poison, like literally poison. It's disgusting. I've worked over fryers and you feel sick after you get done. At the end of the day, you're just like, ugh.
I worked at we weren't frying it, but like I worked at a hot dog stand. We were boiling hot dogs all day.
Still, you're smoking cigarettes all day long.
Sitting next to a propane tank.
Yeah, I'm the same as you though. I'm like really optimistic. I think things are going to like kind of pan out pretty well.
Yeah.
I'm not into like the whole doom and gloom stuff. And it's like, if I'm wrong, fucking at least I didn't waste my life dooming and glooming. So it's like, I do think people are going to slowly kind of wake up and like, all right, like
I'm very white pilled right now.
Me too.
I think, I mean, obviously my focus on Bitcoin is a big source of that, but I think like I'm 33, born in 91. Like the food, just thinking about like Fruit Loops, Lucky Charms, like Cookie Crisp, Fun Dip, like.
And they knew too, because they're like cookies for breakfast. In the commercial, like cookies for breakfast is crazy. They're
it's like that. And then like, I feel like
Nickelodeon was molesting all the kids you watched on TV.
All that.
I should
God bless the All That cast. Lori Beth Timber.
Damn, if you think about it, it's crazy. We're being poisoned from the inside. Our entertainers were just being fucking molested at Nickelodeon. It's pretty, the 90s were like a true dark age.
Yeah. Yeah. And luckily I was a child, like unaware of all the shit. So it was naive to it. But now looking back, and then you roll into like 9/11, the wars, the financial crisis. It's like, what the fuck? I feel like
it's true. It's a really bad. When you put it that way, it's pretty dark.
Yeah, but we've also like the first internet generation. I feel like 20 years into it now, and when the internet was popularized, I feel like we're just like learning the lessons of like how it's fucked up and learning how to deal with the flood of information and filter like signal from noise and get good information out there.
I agree. And the flood of obviously feedback, which like people like being like, like cyberbullying and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's like you really have to learn how to like, I mean, I get it. There's a thrill. Like I used to go on YouTube and like just go on people's videos and be like, you weird old fucking weird. Like, you know, it's just fun. Like, and you also, there's a pull like, well, maybe if I do this, I'll get noticed and blah, 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 blah. But yeah, I mean, dude, it would be cool. There is like, there's the possibility of like, I think we're underutilizing the internet like a lot right now where it could be used, you know, in a way that'll be pretty cool. And it's like, this sounds like naive and stupid, but it's like, and I'm not just saying this because I make YouTube videos and people like call me gay online and stuff, but it's like, just imagine if we were nice online, dude. We could make each other so happy.
It's never going to happen.
I know. Imagine if you guys just like told me I was like the man and like were like pumped for me rather than call me gay and stupid and annoying, but I'm not trying to. But no, I do think, yeah, I think I think if we can have a couple generations grow up where like the internet's not this, you know, I mean, it's already happened where it's like people are coming to age where like it's just always been a part of their lives. I think people will figure out kind of more useful applications of it.
Yeah, we were the first to the door, got fucking kicked in the dick, and like, now we can tell our kids like, all right,
yeah, here's the deal.
Stay away from the chat bot. Stay away from go into the forums. If you delve into the forums, let me know. Let me look at it.
Me and my brother are off porn. I mean, we're just...
I was going to bring that up. Thank you for being as... I've been an anti-porn advocate for some time now, too.
Yeah, dude. It's... People hiss and they don't like it. And I get it because, you know, if I was addicted to it. Like, and it's like when you're addicted to a thing and somebody kind of points out that it's not the best, the usual reaction is to be like, oh, you're a fucking loser, blah, blah, blah. That's how I was when people didn't smoke weed when I was younger. I was like... I would get like offended. I'd be like, what?
Yeah.
Why not? I would get like pissed. But it's like... Yeah, dude, it's my brother just sent me, he was telling me, he's like, now, he was like, thank God, you know, I'm off, because he was like, now there's full content houses. He was like, sending me the thing, it was like, it's college kids just kind of like, just almost like open cam, you can kind of tune in and just like watch real, it sounds gross even just muttering these words, but it's like, he was like, thank God, he was like, this would have been my fucking... this would have been my mainline spike. It was like
literally like Big Brother, like tuned into the house.
I think so. I don't. I didn't look at it. That was just like I like there's something I glimpsed on my phone. I was like, huh.
It's like it fucks your brain up so much,
dude. And I'm telling you, and it's like when you're in it, you're like, it's just porn, dude. Like, relax. I've been off of it for not even that. I did like almost the guts of a year or two ago off of it, and then I obviously relapsed and fell back into it. But now I'm off of it again. It's like, dude, it really does something too. Like, just like my baseline, like physical attraction for like being married and stuff. Like, it's just your libido. It totally changes your libido. Yeah. And I didn't think I had like a libido issue in terms of like having like not enough libido, but it's like, it's just like being like simple things of like being touched and like I'll see my wife in her underwear and be like, fuck. Like I literally get, before when you're like on porn, you're just kind of like, my wife's in her fucking underwear. Now I'm like, tap back in and be like, holy shit, dude, my wife, there's a naked vagina in my bed right now. This is crazy.
Let's go.
Yeah, it's the way it should be, just for the reasons of like staying together in a marriage, because it is like, it's going to be annoying. You're going to annoy each other. She's going to annoy you, blah, blah, blah. And if there's times where I'm like, fuck, you're bothering the fuck out of me, and I'm like, I want you to change this about yourself. But then I get so horny that I'm like, it's fine, fuck it. And then we have sex, and I'm like, that's like a memory wipe that I think dudes need to have.
Yeah.
Otherwise, dudes go like purely into the like cognitive mode where they're like, wait, what are we doing here? Why are we? It's like, no, dude, like you're losing the factor that like, you know, you're just horny and you're having sex with your wife and you don't think about it too much.
Yeah.
She's going to bother you.
It is a mind fuck for people. Like, you stop watching porn or like, I
feel better, dude. And I've had the ultimate test, and I'm sure you're doing this, where like, I'm in hotels by myself, and that I was for real, like, I can't get through a hotel. Like, it's just unfathomable for me to be in a hotel alone and not fap myself to sleep. And I've now have 2 successful weekends under my belt of being alone in a hotel room and being like, no, I'm just going to go to bed.
I'm
not looking at porn.
I'm many years in. And at some point, like, I don't know when it happened, but I don't even think about it anymore.
You really do get, no, I'm telling you, the pull is the same. The pull's not there, and there's like a weird switch. And this is the same thing for like, you know, we're mentioning like addicts of like alcohol, addicts of gambling. And this is why AA, I mean, I think a lot of people know this. It was founded around that guy, Bill, whatever his name is. But originally LSD was supposed to be like the final step where you're like, there's this whole tie-in between like having what's like, you know, essentially a mystical experience or like a unity experience, blah, 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 which is apparently like part of what being a human being is about. Like our brain is wired in some way to somehow facilitate like peak experiences like Maslow, or just this kind of like weird unitive larger than life experience. But my whole point is like, if you can kind of tap into some shred of that, anything that's addicting you is like laughable in terms, like the pull of all that stuff just completely, it like does something where it just wipes it out, where that's like literally your God. If you're a heroin addict, like heroin's your God.
Yeah. And
there's this weird kind of backdoor circuit in our brain to have this sort of experience that just like wipes that off. And it's like, you know, with porn especially, you know, you can really kind of look at like, you know, the family unit per se, not in like a preachy kind of like, what do you like porn better than your family? But if you can kind of like somehow learn how to put those two things in perspective, it's like, yeah, it's not, I'm not saying it's evil or you're evil, but like it truly doesn't serve you to have a family and lead a family to just be like any chance you get to be like, oh, fuck yeah. You know, it's like, it's literally, in my opinion, they're mutually exclusive things. People are like, oh, it's like, I just, like, you're going to have it on your phone. The kid's going to see that. They're going to walk. It's like, you have to get rid of that shit, man.
Imagine your kid walking with your pants to your ankles, your laptop up. You're like,
I mean, that's exactly. That's the nightmare scenario. Or even like seeing your porn. It's so gross to like be like, oh, fuck. It's unpleasant.
No, as soon as you're done, the moment you're done, you're like, fuck.
You know, you go, Jesus Christ.
And it's literally a weapon of war used to demoralize populations. Like,
I can see it, man.
Like
it's not good.
No. And it warps your feedback loop and your dopamine and all that shit. If you're out there, highly recommend taking a break if you're into it.
At least take a break, and you will notice you're like, oh shit, okay, like this is. I was depleting myself unnecessarily, and it has a fucking effect, dude.
Yeah. And now I'm on the retention game. Like,
retention game's sick.
Retention game's sick.
My problem with the retention game is when I retain too long and then I finally get to have sex with my wife, I'm
done. Yeah.
Almost all. It's ridiculous, dude. It's like, and you know, I'm like, sorry, man, you know, but I don't know. She's always like, no, it's kind of like weirdly flattering, but it's like, yeah, I hear you, but like, dude, let's work out a system where like, it's got to, because whenever she's ovulating, that's when she gets like super horny. So I'm like, let's start working in some HJs. Like, let's get like, kind of like, you know, soft launch, and then that way, you know, we'll do friends and family, and then that way, once you're up and running, I'm not just like a kind of starving dog that's going to be like, fuck it. Right as soon as I start, I'm like, this is not lasting.
And it's done.
But the retention game is that was the thing that launched me really with the my recent not watching porn was dude, I had been off it for like months, and then like me and my wife had sex one night, and it was like, you know, when you read the Kama Sutra and you're like, people have like divine experiences through sex. I never really wrapped my brain around it. And then like we had sex and I'm like, dude, this is like fucking unbelievable. This is like what they talk about in the Bible. I'm like, this is, I had for real, like it wasn't like a mystical kind of thing, but it was like, I don't know, something like happened where I was like, oh yeah, this is what you're supposed to be doing. Like, not like,
it is an intimate.
Oh fuck, I just fapped today. Of course this is the day my wife wants to have sex. And you know, like you just do some like semi-soft dick shit on your wife. This was like days and days of like just pent up experience being like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's almost like there's some wisdom there. Like, it's Kama Sutra, the Bible. Like, it's a spiritual sort of act, and you should take it seriously.
I totally agree.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's hard to be a public. I get made fun of a lot whenever.
Yeah, people like to trash it.
I don't bring it up too often anymore because people are like, people that think you're closetly addicted to porn when you bring it up. They're like, oh, you're projecting.
I am. I've talked to people. I am addicted to pornography. Like when I try to stop watching it, I can't. Therefore, I am addicted. Like totally. Like 100%. I think everybody is.
And now it's just, again, like degenerate hedonistic acceleration, like OnlyFans. And now,
yeah, man,
it's all going to be AI at some point soon too. Like all those porn houses are going to notice that they can produce the same. So you're going to be fapping to artificially intelligent depictions of.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Oh, it's all going to be AI.
What about where are all the porn ladies going to go? I guess they can verify somehow they're real, and that'll give people an extra like, oh fuck,
it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn. Oh yeah. Even they could do chat. Yeah, all that stuff could be.
I mean, this is predicted. What was that? Demolition Man?
Yeah.
It's been predicted. It's all,
true.
It's like we're getting to the point where it's possible, and that's like the push and pull of the technological digital age.
And that's like the beyond. That's like the beyond burger of porn.
Yeah. Think about how soulless that is. Like,
yeah.
You just got by the computer.
Yeah, dude. I mean, dude, it's like that fucking. Shane was laughing at me when I brought it up on Rogan, the supernormal stimuli, where they're like, there's like butterflies or moths that like are attracted. There's a butterfly that like, they have a built-in program to be like, if you see this shade of purple, that's your mate. The more brilliant the shade of purple is like, the better for these butterflies. And then you have scientists who are like, create these shades of purple that just won't, that their female butterflies can never produce because they use like technology. And then they'd have these like male butterflies just hovering over this. It's supernormal stimuli. It's like they can't be produced within its own kind of realm, but it hijacks its own neurology to kind of just like dedicate its life to something that's just inherently fake.
And yeah.
And it'll just die. Yeah. And it just dies. The butterflies just like butt their head up against this thing. They're like, why isn't this working? But they can't stop doing it. And then they die. And it's like, damn, that's so sad.
Porn is a weapon of war.
Yeah, I believe it, dude.
It is, it is fucking ruining people. But this was fun.
Dude, thank you. It was awesome.
I know you got to go.
Thanks for explaining Bitcoin. That was nice.
Was it okay? I guess.
That actually makes sense. I can actually speak with some confidence now because people would talk to me, my eyes would spin, and I'd be like,
I don't want to get too preachy, but a man your level of success, everybody in your realm should seriously be considering like saving in Bitcoin.
Yeah, man. No, I've warmed my wife up to it because she was skeptical and she was kind of like, but I'm like, look, just take an amount that can't hurt you every month and just start just allocating it into it every month. And yeah,
that's the way. That's how I got into it in college. Just $50 a paycheck. And
there you go.
That's what people should do.
Nice.
Like squirrel away some money. Don't put it in a bank account. It's just eroding your purchasing power. Bitcoin's your savings account. That's how I like to pitch it.
It's a good move.
All right. Matt, thank you.
Thank you, dude.
This was great. Peace and love, freaks.